Hola, fourth grade. It's Mr. Remedies hopping on real quick with a swift writing lesson. This week, we're going to be doing some revising strategies and some revising practice in preparation for our upcoming big old STAR test. So, today, we're going to be looking at some revising strategies for our sentences. As always, we have a learning goal and success criteria. Learning goal is we're learning how to revise a text by visualizing possible changes to the sentence. Okay, our success criteria wrapped up in a couple of I can statements like I can define revise, I can identify a confusing sentence within a text, and number three, I can describe what needs to happen in a revised sentence. Very important that we hit these success criteria along the way so we know that we have achieved our learning goal. So let's look at our quick vocabulary. Our vocabulary word for today is revise. We definitely have to know what revise means. It means to change or alter, but it really means to change or alter in order to improve. Because nobody really wants to change or alter something to make it worse, right? That just kind of makes sense. All right, let's move on to a little bit of some examples. So, revising example number one it comes from a story about a subway cat. So, I'll read it to you so we can concentrate on our skill. At first, I felt sorry for the subway cat. I figured that he must be lonely without an owner. One day, I reached over and tried to pet him. My mother shrieked about approaching strange animals and warned me. Hmm. What do you guys notice about this sentence? First and foremost, I notice that the sentences are numbered so that way I can access them or I can refer back to them fairly quickly. But besides that, what do you notice about the content of the sentences? Anything? I need to identify. You can maybe hear it in my voice, and maybe Mr. Remedies will come on camera. But I got a question about sentence number 19. I'm looking at my face. Huh? My mother shrieked about approaching strange animals and warned me. I got confused look on my face. I got some questions about that. So let's look at this strategy here. Right? My mother shrieked about approaching strange animals and warned me. I know I'm a good reader. I know I understand. I decoded the words correctly. I said them fluently, but I'm still confused about a couple of things. So I'm asking myself in my big old brain piece, what do I visualize when I read this? Does this make any sense to me? And clearly it doesn't. So my question specifically about this sentence is, what did she warn me about? The sentence ends with she warned me. What did she warn me about? Did she warn me about strange animals? Well, no. According to the sentence, she shrieked about strange animals. But if she shrieked about strange animals, then that doesn't make sense because people don't shriek about things. Shrieking is just that sound, like, ah, they don't shriek and talk at the same time. That sounds real ridiculous. And if you know anybody that does it, they're one in a million person. Uh, did she shriek then warn me? Right? That might seem a little bit more likely because a shriek is just that sound we make. So she probably shrieked then warned me. Uh, and then what did she warn me about? Okay, so let's take a look at the way we're going to ask you the question here. What is the best way to revise sentence 19? Is it A, to change this sentence to my mother shrieked about approaching strange animals that warned me? Okay. My mother shrieked as she warned me about approaching strange animals. My mother shrieked about approaching strange animals. She warned me. Or my mother shrieked and warned me about approaching strange animals. So here I'm going to do some thinking alouds, and this is exactly what I want you guys to do. Like I said, I don't have any trouble understanding the individual words of the sentence, so I'm just going to, kind of really visualize what's going on in each one of these sentences. So starting with A, my mother shrieked about approaching strange animals that warned me. Well, um, I don't think the strange animals are warning me about anything. Okay? So that's a no. Hard no. Okay, that's an obvious no. What about B? My mother shrieked as she warned me about approaching strange animals. Well, I notice here that they've broken the sentence up into two different sentences, and they've made an incomplete sentence out of the second one. So I know that this isn't the best way to revise. I know this isn't the best way to revise that. That doesn't make any sense. So I'll pass on that one too. Okay. My mother shrieked about approaching strange animals. She warned me. That's pretty good, but it's not too much different than the original sentence. So, that one's close. I see what they're trying to do. They're trying to trip me up here, but you know what? I'm not falling for it. I'm not falling for it, test writers. So I'm gonna pass on that one too. My mother shrieked and warned me about approaching strange animals. Oh, I really like that one. I think that's the best one because it tells me the order in which all the events happened. And I really need to be paying attention to that. So it says she shrieked, which if my mom and I were walking in a subway and there was a mangy old subway cat, and my mama, you know, she probably would shriek. So that makes sense. And then she warned me. Well, what is she going to warn me about? Approaching strange animals? Yeah. So that makes sense because that tells me who's doing the action, what actions that subject is doing. So it's my mother. She shrieked. Okay, that would happen first, and then she would warn me. Hey, 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 Mr. Remedies, don't touch that cat. And yeah, my mom calls me Mr. Remedies. What are you gonna know? All right. So ding, ding, ding. I want to pick that one. All right. Let's look at a second example, and then I'll give you some practice on your own. Example number two comes from a nonfiction text. Okay? Materials are strengthened by shaping them into a tube called tubing. Tubing is often used to make frames and for supporting weight. The tube can be in a number of shapes. It can be circular, square, triangular, or even a U shape. When exploring different ways to strengthen paper, it can be discovered that only by folding can it be strengthened. Corrugated cardboard and bubble wrap plastics are examples of strengthened folded materials. Corrugated iron is another example of how folding makes a material stronger. Corrugated iron is much stronger, which is why it is used for the roofs of some houses. So again, I have to identify a confusing sentence. Okay, and I'm gonna go with number five again. I'm thinking, huh? I got a question about number five. It says, when exploring different ways to strengthen paper, it can be discovered that only by folding can it be strengthened. Hmm. So again, I'm gonna try to ask myself some questions. I'm gonna do some thinking aloud here. Does this make sense? Does this sentence make sense? When exploring different ways to strengthen paper, it can be discovered that only by folding can it be strengthened. Um, so what does only by folding mean? What does the folding? Do I fold myself? Do I fold myself then fold the paper? Does the paper fold itself? Does it like, hey guys, I'm gonna fold it myself? Can it do that? I don't know if it can do that. Do I fold the paper? You know, so you can see this sentence is a little unclear about you know what or whom is doing the folding. So again, my question is, what is the best way to revise sentence five? Is it when exploring different ways, you will find that paper is strengthened if folded? Right? B, when exploring different to fold paper, you will discover that one way of folding is the strongest. When exploring different ways to strengthen paper, you will discover folding the paper also helps to strengthen it. Sorry about that. Or D, the sentence is written correctly, which sometimes is an option for you. Okay. So let's go through these one by one. When exploring different, there is one obvious wrong answer, and that's down here on letter D. This sentence isn't written correctly because I'm a really good reader, and I know I have tons of questions about this, so I know this is incorrect. The sentence is not written correctly. Right? When exploring different ways, you will find that paper is strengthened if folded. This one doesn't make much sense because different ways to do what? Different ways to go home. Different ways to bake a cake. What different ways? So I'm gonna eliminate that one. That one's even more confusing than the original sentence. When exploring different to fold paper, you will discover that one way of folding is the strongest. I don't know any like I got oh man, look at me. This one's confusing too. When exploring different what to fold paper. Different different ways, different methods. There's a word missing here. And you will discover that one way of folding is the strongest. I don't know too many different ways to fold paper, but maybe later in the paragraph it would tell me. But there's a missing word here, and it really creates a lot of confusion because I'm stroking my beard and I got this little weird side eye going on. So, boom, no, I'm going to eliminate it. So that makes good old C the answer. When exploring different ways to strengthen paper, you will discover folding the paper also helps to strengthen it. Well, this is a fantastic way to revise the sentence because it answers one of the many questions I had. Who does the folding? Do I fold the paper? Well, it says right here, folding the paper. Okay, not folding yourself. The paper's not going to fold itself. So this is a very well written sentence, and this is the best way to revise the sentence. All right, let's move on to a quick review. Revising is when we change the sentence so we can improve it. If the sentence is incredibly confusing, it's the one that needs to be revised. But spoiler alert, on the STAR test, they're going to tell you which one needs to be revised. But in order to revise your sentence, you need to ask yourself a couple of questions as you read. Does this make sense? What order are the events in the sentence happening? What order do they need to happen in? And who is doing or should be doing the action? Okay? And so ask yourself a bunch of questions. All right, a little quick revising lesson for you. You'll have plenty of chances to work on this independently. As always, I've been Mr. Remedies. You've been wonderful writers, and we will see you